Hello everyone, my name is Amber Hernandez and I will be demonstrating cognitive behavioral therapy today. Good evening, Mary. How are you today?
Doing good, how are you?
Good, thank you for asking. So tell me a little bit about how you're feeling and what brings you here to counseling.
Basically, just dealing with the death of my mom. Of course, that happened, back in 2001.
Okay.
So that was something that was a devastating moment in my life because we weren't expecting that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And basically that happened when I want to say 21 years old, and she had got sick, but it was something minor as of removing gallstones that she had. Went into the hospital on a Sunday, and then I remember going to go see her. And then the next day that I went, she wasn't in her room, so they had transferred her to ICU, and they had her in an induced coma, not knowing what was going on. So I get up there, and they say that her liver's shutting down. They don't know why.
Okay.
So then I had for me to call family and all that, so I had to do that. But then they were asking as far as like, was she like a drug user? Was she an alcoholic? Because those are some of the things that would cause that to happen.
Right.
So no, she was like basically the healthy one out of her and my dad. My dad was basically the one that we would have thought that would have passed before because he had health issues as far as like diabetes. He even had almost passed away of hepatitis. And it wasn't the hepatitis C, the one that you get sick and pass away from. I think it was A or B. So there was a treatment for that. Then of course he had high blood pressure. Anyway, so he would never go to the doctor unless something were to happen that was bad. So with my mom, she was always doing her yearly checkups, and all that. But with the reason why her liver had shut down was because 10 years prior to her getting sick, she had a blood transfusion, because of she had a major surgery in her back. So during that time, they didn't check for, what was it? I think it was hepatitis. She had hepatitis C. And that's what was causing her liver to shut down. But the doctors had said that it was a silent, basically, you didn't know you had it unless you were directly tested for it. And you had to have a reason to be tested for that. So basically she got that blood transfusion, and basically that blood had hepatitis, and we didn't know that. So Sunday she went in, Thursday she was gone.
Wow.
So
Okay.
that was that.
So you have discussed about your mom's death and how much it made a huge impact on you. You mentioned that she got sick, she was in the hospital, and you had mentioned that she had contracted hepatitis C through a blood transfusion, and because of that she quickly became ill, and then as time went by she unfortunately had passed away. And it was a huge shock to you all, like you and your siblings, because out of your mom and your dad, like your mom was the healthiest one versus like your dad that had health issues, alcoholism and things like that. It just came out of nowhere, and it was very unexpected. So to feel that you're still grieving and you're still processing those emotions, I mean, you're human, and losing a parent is not easy at all. Never. And but with time it does get better, it does get easier. I mean, does it get easier?
To me, it gets easier as time goes by.
Right.
But you just basically get used to the fact that they're not coming back. So you get used to their absence.
Okay.
But that does take a while.
Right. Yeah.
So it gets easier enough to where you can function day to day.
Right. And as it should. I mean, there's no time limit. There's no there's not a right time to just be like, okay, like I'm over it. That's just something that, like you said, comes with time, and it does get easier. So after, let's see, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the techniques.
Mhm.
And so with cognitive behavioral therapy, again, it just kind of modifies those emotions, thought process, and behavior that you've been feeling.
Mhm.
And hopefully in time, you know, because again, grieving is a long process. Hopefully in time, you know, these techniques and skills will kind of help you, you know, not necessarily move on past it, but help you find comfort in, you know, that she's at peace, and that, you know, if she was here, she, you know, be proud of how far you came,
Mhm.
both as a mother, as a wife, a friend,
Mhm.
you know, like, so definitely, you know, we'll take the time to work together because this is a collaboration. So it's not just gonna be you know, I'm gonna help you, I'm gonna be there for you,
Mhm.
and so, yeah, we'll work together and figure this out.
Okay.
So the first technique I'm going to discuss is cognitive restructuring or cognitive reframing. So it's a CBT technique used to help clients reframe their thoughts and emotions. When you think about, you know, your mom's passing and how much it affected you and how much it, you know, obviously affected your day-to-day functions and all, you know, it's understanding to feel sad or apathy, you know, in the first stage,
Mhm.
because, you know, it just happened, you know, it's almost as if your world ended pretty
Mhm.
much. So, and it will take even years to actually process this. As you know, as you told me, it takes a while, and that in itself is extremely difficult.
Mhm.
However, you know, like I said, we're here to work together. And so, with cognitive restructuring, by reframing your emotions of grief, for example, we can change how we view the event. So, losing a parent is devastating, of course, and probably the hardest thing you'll ever go through in life. You know, and so, however, I would like to ask you, how would you perceive your mom's passing in a positive light?
I guess in a positive would be that she wasn't suffering anymore.
Okay.
Of course, they had her in an induced coma because she was in a lot of pain. So that would have been something to where they wouldn't have been able to fix it because that disease was already all in her body. So that would have been something to where she's no longer suffering, and we don't have to see her in that, you know, in that state.
Okay. So kind of just knowing the fact that, you know, depending on your religious beliefs or depending on what you believe in, you know, you find peace in the fact that she's not hurting anymore.
Mhm.
She's in a better place. You know, by the way, what is your religion?
Christian.
Christian.
Mhm.
Okay. So, you know, having that joy and that relief that she's with God, with Jesus Christ. So, that can also probably, you know, and also praying too. I think praying would be something that, you know, that would help too. Have you considered praying?
That I have, and then also I had started writing down my feelings or writing what I felt. So that did help. And then of course, you know, during that time my daughter was little, so of course a lot of my time was put to her. So that helped. That was like my I guess therapy, because of course I knew, you know, my daughter at that time was 3 years old. So I was constantly busy. I wasn't gonna, you know, as far as like not do anything. But during that time when my mom had passed, of course, I know her grandmother would take care of her, you know, during that time. But so basically I put all my time and energy, you know, raising her, you know, being with her. So she was a lot of my strength. So that's what I did as far as that. Like trying to not think about it and just live, you know, daily life, and just trying to move forward.
Right. So just doing things to keep you busy, taking care of your daughter, and also, you know, I don't have kids, but you know, I've counseled parents who'd always tell me, like, you know, the one thing that keeps me going is their kids. So I feel, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but like it seems like, you know, your daughter was pretty much your motivation to keep going, because, you know, you want to be there for her as her mother.
Right.
And so, you know, that's really nice, because, you know, at the same time, during that moment, you know, kids are like,
yeah, during the time as a toddler's time.
Yeah, it's like the best times, you know, and so that probably kind of not necessarily helped you moved on, but kind of like patch things up a little bit to where now you feel like, okay, like I have purpose and I have meaning. And then you also mentioned that, you know, you journal, you pray, and then you find peace in the fact that she's with the Lord Jesus Christ. Okay. So with this new perspective, let's stick to that. Let's hold on to what you just mentioned, how like, you know, yes, my mom is no longer here, but she's no longer in pain. And she's, you know, with God, and I have my daughter to look forward to and do things with, and, you know, like she has her whole life ahead of her, and I'm just happy that I get to, you know, be there throughout her milestones. And so even though, you know, you were already adult whenever your mom had passed, you know, of course, it kind of, in a sense, you want to like be there for her, just as if you're your mom, you know, you want your mom to be there for you through your milestones. So, and it makes sense too. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No, that was it. Basically, I mean, the journaling, like I said, there were basically letters to her, or like what I did every day. So like, she would call me every day, so I got used to that. So since I didn't have that, then I would just write, what I did every day, but to her. Yeah. So that's what I did.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you know, again, it's inevitable, and, you know, this is hard. This is difficult. You know, there's really not a lot to describe what it's like to lose a parent, because it's devastating. But, you know, you have people that care about you, and also forgot to mention, like, you also have your siblings to lean on to as well. You know, y'all all kind of share that same pain. And so, you know, whenever you think about your mom, you know, I'm sure initially you were like, you know, like, I miss her, I wish she was here, you know, why isn't she here with me? But instead of, you know, thinking about why she's not here, kind of what you said, you know, restructure those thoughts and those emotions, and being in the present, and also, you know, knowing that she's in a better place.
Right, yeah.
Journaling, being with your daughter, you know, things like that. That's going to be kind of like your homework. So the next technique we're going to discuss is stress inoculation theory. So stress inoculation theory seeks to enhance the client set of coping skills, and to encourage you to use the coping skills already possessed. So kind of like what we talked about, you know, utilizing what you like to do, and also this is also a time to kind of come up with new coping skills and mechanisms to kind of add into the mix of what you can do to kind of just, you know, help you heal in this journey. So when your mom passed, I think you kind of already said this, but how did you cope during that time? Like right after that happened, like what was?
I mean, I was really not coping. It was just angry, like so angry. But then it like all changed, because I'm like, okay, well, I can't be angry or ask God why, because I'm not going to get that answer. So it was just, like I said, just getting back to work. I only lasted like 2 weeks at home, and I couldn't do that no more. So going back to work, staying busy, and just not like stopping life, just continuing with life. You know, and it's a day to day. Everything that I did every day is what I did after that. So it was, at first, yes, it was like devastating when, of course, that happened that day, and then being so angry. But then as days went by, it was like, okay, well, I can't be angry and I can't ask why because I'm never going to get that answer. So it was just, moving forward with life and just continuing, my day to day, things that I did every day.
Okay. So immediately after that happened, it was just feelings of anger, feeling like, why did this have to happen to her? She was so young. She still had a lot of life left.
Yeah, because she was 41, 42. So, yeah.
Yeah, and so, that is hard, especially when, like you mentioned earlier, how your mom was the healthy one, and like she was always taking care of herself, and she took care of y'all, and it just came out of nowhere, really. So, but there are other ways, of course, as time goes on, like you start picking up new things to kind of like, distract yourself, and at the same time doing things that is going to help you kind of process those emotions as well. So some of the things I do want to suggest is getting into things that you like to do, like hobbies and interests. Of course, aside from the things you've already mentioned, I think in our last session, our initial session, you did mention that you like to go to Hobby Lobby and decorate the house and all that. So just tell me a little bit more about that. Like, how does that kind of bring you joy?
It's just like thinking how I'm going to decorate the house, and then sometimes, of course, the holidays are big. So then, it's just thinking of all the things I'm going to buy, or when I'm going to hit the clearance section. So I got to the point to where I was like, I'm going to go just hit the sales. Like if it's going to be shopping out of season, then it was just something that I would do because, of course, at the same time you're saving money.
Yeah.
So it was just just getting out, and then shopping, spending time with my siblings and family and stuff like that. So I mean, it was a lot of that. Just that's like my biggest interest is basically being in Hobby Lobby, or decorating the house, or how am I going to change things around, and just stuff like that.
And if you don't mind me asking, did your mom, was she the person who liked to decorate and she enjoyed the holidays and all that kind of stuff?
She did. Like the house was always every year it was something new, or she would completely rearrange the rooms, change the colors of the curtains. So I didn't even think about that as far as like why I would even like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, she did that, and then of course traveling was another thing, to get away for a little bit and go have fun and enjoy new places and enjoy new things or new cultures, and so that was another thing too.
Yeah, so it does make sense that you subconsciously kind of picked up these hobbies and interests from your mom, and now you kind of are doing those same things now. And I think that's a good thing, because it just means that not only that you're trying to cope with it, but you're kind of in a way trying to be closer to her in that sense. And that's good, like you're in a way you're kind of just you're moving forward, but at the same time you're knowing that, oh, my mom used to do these things, I find comfort in these things. So that makes sense. And then you also said that you talk to your siblings, so I think that's another coping skill to have, like call up your sisters or your brother, see what they're up to, if they want to hang out, go out to eat or something. Like I think that's also something to do as well, which I think you are already kind of doing that now. How about, have you ever considered, let's say, like going for a walk or exercising?
Yeah, going for walks was another good thing too, especially during like when it's like really cool outside, because of course you're I guess able to think, or listening to music was another thing, like walking and listening to music because your mind is just going or whatever. Let's see, another thing was during that time, my daughter and my little sister were little, so they're 6 months apart. So my daughter was 4 and my sister was 3.5.
Mhm.
So it was like picking up my younger sister from my dad, and then taking my daughter and my little sister out, whether it be to Chuck E. Cheese or something for them to have fun, so that also my little sister that was having a hard time with that could like not, have, in other words, like have fun and get away for a little bit and try to get her mind off my mom, which is, of course, that wasn't something that we can actually do because she was so little and she was wanting her mom.
Yeah.
But something, to get her out of the house and go play and have fun and actually be a kid instead of, dealing with something like that so small.
Yeah, and it definitely impacted you, but it also impacted, your little sister
Mhm.
because she was so young, and she was to not know where her mom is at. I mean, like that's really hard. So you were mentioning how like your little sister Tiffany, that's her name. So it must have been devastating for her because she was so little, and that's something that is hard to comprehend for a little kid. But you did mention how like that you brought her out, with your daughter because they're so close in age, and that kind of helped her and you as well to kind of just
Right.
get out there and do things that is gonna bring happiness and fun into y'all's lives. So with that being said, I'm going to go into goal settings. So this is going to be the last portion of our session. So at this time, we'll be setting goals and applying what we learned outside of therapy. I will be giving you homework. So not like school homework, but putting the skills that were utilized in today's session. So first we just discuss cognitive restructuring, which is again reframing your thought patterns, emotions, and behavior, and turning them into more positive and fulfilling ways to look at a situation, which is the passing of your mom. So when we think of something sad, it's easy to get stuck in a cycle of grief and devastation and all, but that is normal. And it's also inevitable. Like you never think that it would happen to you, and also not only that, usually like yes, the parent passes away like eventually, but not until you get old, right? And not so soon. And so when that kind of just happened out of nowhere, I mean, it's normal to feel grief and kind of like a void in your heart. So the first step is to accept our emotions. So rather than kind of suppressing them and avoiding them, just kind of, feel your emotions. If you need to cry, cry. If you need to get angry or punch something, get angry, but of course in more healthier coping ways, and so utilizing our skills that you mentioned. So like journaling, hanging out with your siblings, taking your daughter and your little sister out, to go do fun stuff, walking and when the weather's right, things like that. Is there anything else I'm missing?
No, I think that's it.
Okay, so then we also talked about stress inoculation theory, which utilizes old and new coping skills. So you can utilize what you're doing now and then add on to the new coping skills that we've discussed. And again, it's to help you process these things and find meaning and purpose in your own life. And how, oh yeah, you mentioned like you like to decorate the house and you enjoy the holidays, and I think that kind of in a sense manifested on how your mom enjoyed those things. So you kind of find comfort in that as well. So that can definitely help you change the narrative in that to where, you are able to do the things that your mom didn't get to do, and that in a sense can kind of help you process those emotions.
Right.
Does that make sense? Okay. And then also, practicing mindfulness, I would say is something to consider. So like breathing exercises, meditating, or praying, like you mentioned too. Doing things to take care of yourself. What do you usually do for self-care?
I did start exercising and actually stuck with it because I would always say, okay, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to exercise, and that would never happen. I actually stuck with it and ended up dropping 30 pounds, so that was a good thing.
Okay.
I actually kind of stopped, but need to get into it because my thing now is, okay, getting healthy so that I don't have to suffer illnesses when I get older. Like, I don't want to be sick or anything like that. So it's better to get my health under control so that I'm not, since my dad was diabetic, I don't want to be diabetic.
Okay.
Because there's so many things that come with being diabetic. And since I am getting older, I don't want to be that person that's sick of all kinds of diseases because of weight issues.
Right.
So that's why, the good thing I did lose the 30 pounds, but I still need to lose about 20 more. So that's what I need to get back into.
Okay. So kind of just, keeping your health in check and, making sure that you are taking care of yourself so that you can live longer and then also doing like the mindfulness exercises as well as your hobbies and your interests that you like to do. I mean, it seems like a pretty good plan. And I think we covered a lot today so far, and I hope this helped. So was there anything, final words that you wanted to say or mention?
No, I think that's it. No.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and this is the end of the mock session.
Okay.